All right, today I'm here at the home of Monica Cady and her Ojibwa Apothecary Botanical Sanctuary. Monica is a Native American, community development advocate, naturalist, forager, and a minimalist. Thanks for agreeing to do this today, Monica. We have a beautiful day here, and so we decided to stand outside and have our talk. So, all right, Monica, do you want to explain a little bit about what you have here?
Sure. Thanks so much for coming out. I have a botanical sanctuary, and I'm probably going to establish it with United Plant Savers. It's hard to see what's growing now, but I have a patch of ramps just to the right, and they're cultivated. As you know, ramps, the seeds take up to 18 months just to germinate. So it's nice if people can have their own cultivated patch. I have ramps, and then further out some a patch of golden seal, which is also on United Plant Savers at-risk list. I also planted several raised beds with ginseng. It didn't come up, so I need to redo that. Golden seal is a companion plant to ginseng. And then here I have lots of black cohosh. So the 4.6 acres is all a botanical sanctuary. It's a no-mow zone, no spray zone, and it connects to the Hiawatha National Forest. And we're in the middle of rematriating another 11 acres that used to be a part of this property that's across the street, and it's really exciting. And that property is a lot sunnier, and it's a meadow with a lot of culturally significant plants. We just smudged with one of them, Pearly Everlasting, which is growing all across the street, and it's somewhat hard to find. It's known as a women's sage, and it's also good for the lungs. And so there's other medicine plants that are growing there. Bee balm monarda, also known as bergamot, and there's a large stand of that, and we're really excited about that. It's a tea used in the men's sweat, and it's also very good for the lungs. And it's called bee balm because it's a bee magnet. So this area is a bee sanctuary, plant refuge. And then also across the street there's quite a bit of yarrow and goldenrod, and basically I have been digging tons of the wild parsnip out, and this was pretty exciting, even though it was something horrible. You normally dig with a sharp, pointy shovel and get the root out. Well, one day I was just cutting it at the base, and it flipped up and hit me in the face, and I ended up getting wild parsnip on my forehead, cheek, chin, and I was starting to get welts. And I had been studying with Joe Pitawaniccut, and he said the remedy to kind of like skin irritations from poison ivy is tag elderbark. So I decided I went over to Nuns Creek and harvested some tag elderbark and brewed it, and it actually got rid of the rash from the invasive wild parsnip. And I'm definitely advocating for people to dig it up. I know some people just think it should be sprayed. It's easier just to dig it up. And I'm also considering maybe getting a couple goats, because goats will eat the seed head. And the person that told me that was Cindy and John Dutcher. They were organic growers of blueberries. So over the last 5 years, I've been hand digging up the wild parsnip because it was taking over the stand of bee balm. And I was inspired to do that from my friend who's Ojibway, Potawatomi, Richard Lewis. An elder connected us together and said to come and ask me if I could help him find bergamot or the bee balm for sweat, for the men's Inipi sweat lodge. And I started digging up the wild parsnip because I didn't want him to get into it. So he's the one that inspired me and why I've become so connected to that property, and I'm so happy we can rematriate it because it's been a learning model. I was able to actually learn and find out the antidote for the burns from the wild parsnip. People are really freaked out about it. A friend of mine had to get a shot in the hospital. He was mowing the wild parsnip down and his eyes were swollen shut. So this is basically a permaculture demonstration site. The front yard when I moved here 9 years ago was a manicured monocrop lawn, and I've let it rewild. I've added to it, I did a hedge of 9 bark in the back, and then I have lots of cup plants that I actually rescued from a botanical sanctuary that the owners sold, Creekside Herbs in Hessel. Wendy Wagner had just a magnificent medicine wheel garden there, and when it was sold, the new owners said they didn't want the plants. They literally said we want to just be able to mow and spray. So I did a plant rescue, and a lot of the plants here came from that botanical sanctuary, including the cup plant, which is all in the front. The cup plant, the leaves make a cup and hold water, so it attracts frogs and all kinds of pollinators to drink from it. So in the front yard, I've had hundreds of pollinators, wasps, hornets. My friend Amy, who's fluent in Ojibway and teaches Ojibway to students, came out to film all the bees for her class. So this is just basically a demonstration site of how to live, with the land instead of over mowing. And it's a demonstration site that it can look beautiful. Everything doesn't have to be so manicured. I don't use any gas on this property. I hand shovel, and then I have a Sears push mower, reel-to-reel mower, and that's all I use for paths. So it's just been coexisting with nature instead of how people seem to just want to dominate. And I just love that it's a no-mow zone. I'm able to go out in the spring and make a salad with all the wild edibles. 20 ingredients salad. I have 3 kinds of violets that will be just ocean of violets here. So this is a site to show people you don't have to mow. You can rewild and leave it natural. And with the derailment, with the inflation, with food, I really hope more people will not mow or and to start eating from their own the wild edibles from what used to be a lawn, and now I can just eat a big salad. A major one that I've let grow is called Heal-All, Prunella vulgaris. That grows all around Michigan. It's native to here, and if you don't mow, it actually gets pretty big. When I was camping in Blind River, Canada, I saw a large patch of the Heal-All, Prunella vulgaris. When I woke up, something ate it. It was all gone. So that's all over my front lawn because I haven't mowed it, and now the whole plant's edible. I can make salves from it, salads, dehydrate it. So as far, I was just, I'm on our Sioux Tribe's Food Sovereignty Committee, and I'm definitely going to also promote about having more no-mow zones and being able to harvest what, so-called weeds and to, be low impact that way.
Sure. So why did you choose to take this path in life? You're a minimalist and a forager, which is wonderful. So I'm just curious why.
I think, well, my great-grandmother, Babka, she was Czechoslovakian. She came over from Czechoslovakia, and she had the most beautiful garden, and it imprinted on me as a kid. I would sit in her garden, and it was just biodiversity. There was just things growing everywhere, a big mulberry tree, currants, And I just remember sitting there watching the birds. She had 2 whiskey barrels, and she would collect spring water. So Bubka inspired me to garden, and she also inspired my dad and a lot of other people. People would visit her garden. She didn't speak English. She is Czechoslovakian, but I don't know, she was just a very kind, loving person, kind of a bird charmer too. So Bubka inspired me to take this path. I remember when I was like probably 7 or 8, I remember seeing orange hawkweed growing all by the blue spruce, and I smelled it. It smelled like butterscotch, and I said, "Dad, please don't mow this," and so he did. So it started when I was a little kid, I guess, with just being sensitive to nature. My Ojibway grandfather, Walt, he gardened too. He'd take me out bird watching, and he lived next door to Bupka, so I just grew up with gardening like that, and that became my path.
Sure. So what is your vision for the future for this and for the other property? What do you want to see happen?
I would like to see educational tours. I'd like to, throughout the season, bring people on tours to teach what's edible, medicinally, and culinary, and also bring kids kind of as an educational what to eat in season and how to forage sustainably. Like for instance, when I forage the ramps, I usually just take a leaf, or if you cut it, you leave the corm in the ground or the root and cut it at the base. So I'd like to maybe show people how to forage sustainably, which you move around a lot in pruning. And this is basically restoring endangered at-risk plants. I also have mayapple, wild ginger. I don't know why the ginseng didn't come up. I don't know if the turkeys ate it or a grouse, but I planted a pound of ginseng. So it's basically a botanical sanctuary, plant refuge, bird refuge, bee refuge, bat refuge. So that's...
Sure.
And rematriation. It will also be a place for water protectors to visit by invitation. I live 1 mile from Lake Huron, so there's a lot of water protectors, and we're documenting the plants in the path of the pipeline. The glacial area has a lot of at-risk medicinal plants that aren't anywhere else. It's a very special place, so it needs to be protected.
Sure. What are there any other communities or any other areas, properties that you've seen that you're modeling this after, or is this?
Yes, United Plant Savers in Rutland, Ohio, 9 hours from here in the Appalachia. They're botanical sanctuary that's been around 25 years, and they're over 300 acres and the largest stand of golden seal in the world. They're very inspiring. I've visited it a few times. I'm definitely modeling after them. They also have like a yurt for people to be able to visit. I'd like to maybe make a hempcrete tiny house so that people could visit.
And stay.
Yeah, and I'd like to make medicinal teas for people and salads from that. So yeah, definitely the Botanical Sanctuary in United Plant Savers. And when I lived on Standing Rock, I helped establish an 85-acre botanical sanctuary that's now 100 acres. My daughter's dad has that property, and it's protected forever. And the reason we wanted to protect it is that it had a large stand of hawthorn trees that was planted a long time ago to keep buffalo out. You can believe that. It was a very special property. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are some of your biggest hurdles with this project?
Probably money. Just, maybe also educating people. Like I've had one neighbor's like, "Is your lawnmower broken?" I'm like, "No, I'm doing this on purpose for the bees and pollinators. It's a pollinator garden, so maybe being misunderstood but."
Sure. So as far as that goes, are there other things that can be done to help? Can the community get involved, or?
Yes, definitely. I've had a lot of people come by and visit, and I'll harvest medicine, and they usually bring me like maple syrup or honey. But yeah, definitely.
Okay.